Greetings and salutations, this is Huge Ass, the biggest YouTuber ever! And here we are, time to spin the Wheel of Derp again. And we need someone to help us spin the Wheel of Derp. Today we've got a man who has been dealing with derpers for about 4 years now, something like that. And he's well and truly an expert. Welcome to the channel, Conspiracy Catz.
Hey, how are we doing?
And this is actually the first time we've sort of had a one-on-one ever, I think. We've been talking, we've done live streams with Planet Walk together a couple of times, but yeah, it's the first time we had a one-on-one, so that's good.
I'm looking forward to it. I love the format. I love the format. I'm looking forward to seeing what the wheel throws my way. But yeah, this should be fun. A good way to start Saturday morning. Well, it's Saturday morning for me, but
yes,
looking forward to it.
Well, Saturday evening for me. I've come away from a barbecue to do this, but apparently everyone at the barbecue is watching. So hello to all my neighbours. I hope you're going to enjoy the show. And you've got a challenge to do as well. We had FTFE on, and he had about 1.4 thousand, I think, views. MC2 went to 1.7, so you've got to beat 1.7.
I will heavily push that. I'm going to go for 1.71 as a minimum, absolute minimum.
Absolutely.
A maximum maybe about 4 million. I don't know, somewhere in between there. I'll be happy with that.
And I'm also in a race with Sarcastic Barman. I've overtaken him in subs for the first time ever. And so I'm racing him to 2,000 subs. So we'll see how we go.
Right. Let's do it. Let's smash it. Let's do it.
Yes. So you've seen the Wheel of Derp before. Let me share my screen. I can never remember how to do that. Present. Share screen. And it's that one.
Here it comes.
So here we go. Yes. The problem with StreamYard is not very quick. But this is one of the Wheel of Derps. There's actually two wheels of derps. And let me just take you through it. So there's one wheel here, which has all the derpers on it. And I'll take you through those in a minute. And then there's another wheel. And for each derper, we're going to ask them two questions. And this wheel has the questions that we'll ask them. And that's the idea. And hopefully we can get this over in an hour and a half or so I don't take too much of your time. But we'll have a bit of fun along the way and ask you questions about these derpers.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So in that case, I'll take you through the derpers. And here's Cat's Wheel of Derp. So the first one is, you tell me.
Oh, this is, well, how much do you want me to say about them? Like, is it obviously it's Alex Jones.
So,
do you want me to...
Yeah, just give me 15 seconds.
Yeah, so Alex Jones, internet conspiracy theorist, he got very lucky. He said some things in the past which have turned out to be true. So he's got this massive following that think everything he says is true. And now he just literally says anything as a way to sell himself some supplements. I did a video on him and it lost me about 200 subscribers. But I stand by what I said.
Okay. The next one, with a very strangely thin head.
Bob Super Noodle Doodle Nadal. Yeah, so it was a flat earther who became infamous by going on to the documentary that was filmed on Netflix and then essentially fessing up that he'd managed to measure the rotation of the Earth with a ring laser gyroscope. So that he's kind of infamous for that. He's disappeared now behind a paywall, so I don't really see what he's up to these days.
Well, everyone in the chat's saying thanks, Bob. And the Snark's in there, the guy who wrote your original theme song.
Legend is the
Catz, Conspiracy Catz.
In
fact, that's one thing I've missed on your channel. You haven't written too many songs lately.
Well, the thing is, because I gave like the Flat Earth channels away because I just didn't have the time to make that kind of video. Like to do a song would take like an entire afternoon, start to finish. And now, and that was on top of the rest of the video. But now I just make my videos on a Sunday morning. I'll get up at 9 o'clock. The video's done by 1 and that's it. And then I'll get the video out. So everything's had to change, unfortunately, quite a lot. Otherwise, because I just wasn't getting content out. I was doing like 2 months in between videos and it wasn't really fun anymore. So yeah, unfortunately, the songs have gone for a bit.
Yeah, you're an incredibly busy man. I mean, you got a family to look after. You've got your job as a tutor, I believe. That's right. You're writing a textbook. You've got channels with got your Conspiracy Catz channel, which is a link in the description. You do the thing with Ranty sometimes. At least I think that you were supposed to be doing that.
It's that kind of. Well, he's that podcast. It was great fun, loads of fun, but it kind of died a death a little bit, just because I didn't have time. Mention the book. I'm just going to show it off. This is my physics book here. There were 3 of them in the past.
Hang on, let me make
18 months.
You big. You want to show it again?
There we go. So quite a meaty thing. It's only like a pre-edit copy, so there's no cover on it or anything. But yeah,
well,
so I've done 3 of them.
Blow away with that.
It's absolutely, well, that's it. It is literally probably only good for being a paperweight, but it's my paperweight. I did it.
All right, I want to get Bob's face off the screen. Oh God, that was worse. This is Gigantor.
I'm Gigantor, the tallest flat earther in the world. Yeah, Ketwood. I mean, bless him. He's on another planet, isn't he? He really is. I had a chat with him once. After I did the Gigantor thing, I had to retire the Gigantor meme because he sent me a message on Twitter and he ended up DMing me. And I think he was quite upset by it. And he was like, look, let's just have a chat. And I said, okay. So I went onto his channel and we had a very, very polite chat. And I promised I wouldn't include Gigantor. So that's why Gigantor stopped appearing, because I think it upset him a little bit. But at the same time, he's completely out of touch with reality, isn't he? And you would be, I suppose, if you're that far away from it, you can't see what's going on.
Well, you think the height he is, you should be able to see the curve of the Earth.
Absolutely, yeah. So, some of the things that he says just... I mean, what he made a video once saying, here's proof that gravity doesn't exist. And he showed some water, like, going down a beach. Like, he'd made some kind of track in the beach and water was flowing down it. And he said, there's my evidence gravity doesn't exist. He didn't explain it. It was just mind-blowing.
Yeah. They're at the moment, the current theme seems to be gravity doesn't exist because clouds are in the air.
Oh, yeah. Smoke rises, balloons rise. Flies, butterflies can take off, but the ocean, is stuck to the ground. It's just
they don't understand summation of forces. Yeah,
absolutely.
Anyway, let's get his ugly face off the screen. Not so ugly.
That's me in about 20 years, isn't it? Let's have a look. It is, isn't it? That is me in 20 years. Some glasses.
Oh my God, my eyes! The reflection.
So, Dr. John Campbell, 2.5 million subscribers. When I was I'm not teaching full-time anymore, but when I was teaching full-time, I used to use his videos in my class because he used to do some like educational videos. And at the end of a lesson, I might pull up one of his videos. If we've been doing like circulatory system, I'd pull up one of his videos on the circulatory system. They were only 5 minutes long. They were short. They were decent enough quality. And I actually quite liked him. And then he seems to have fallen down some kind of rabbit hole, making videos implying certain medical causes for all the excess deaths we're seeing, and the selective nature, shall we say? I don't want to get your channel in any trouble, but the selective nature of what he does really, really bothers me. Actually, not a fan of him at all.
And you're not the only channel to point that out. Debunk the Funk, I've noticed, has sort of turned their attention to him, and it's always good to look at different viewpoints, though. So yeah, it's interesting just to see those things. And yeah, right, yes, it's very dodgy ground in terms of channel deleting and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
we won't go into that too far.
Yeah.
Who's next? Oh yes, even worse.
I wasn't prepared for that.
No.
Ken Hovind. I mean, what can you say about Ken Hovind? Like, is he the most famous young Earth creationist in the world now, do you think? Or people like Ken Ham still bigger?
Yeah, I guess he's still the most famous, but Matt Powell is getting attention for all the wrong reasons. Oh. His personal Muppet, Kent Hovind's personal Muppet, Matt Powell.
Well, I think he is, isn't he? I think he's very much started off as Kent Hovind's yes man, hasn't he? And when I first started dealing with Kent, it would be a case that nobody really knew who Matt was, but he'd get Matt on the phone every now and then to ask him I remember I made an argument after my debate with him about ERVs and how they can be used as evidence for evolution. And I swear down that in the very next video Kent Hovind made, he phoned up Matt Powell, and Matt Powell honestly said, well, I'd never heard of ERVs until this morning, but I did a bit of Googling and it turns out they're evidence for creation. It's like, oh, you've never heard of them before. You spent 5 minutes on Google and now...
And he's absolutely certain. You know how I'd respond to that?
What, are you retarded?
God, that took a while to come up. Anyway, it sort of ruined the moment slightly, but we got there. Yes. By the way, all the people that I'm picking to go on the wheel are people you've done videos on. So there's probably other people who would be nice to hear your thoughts on, like Dearth and people like that. But yeah, I don't believe you've done videos on them. Oh, I didn't put Dell on. Damn it. I meant to put Dell on. Anyway, Dell's sort of a bit irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, these days he's gone. Oh,
still around.
Hokey jokely. Yeah, just about. I mean, have you ever met a more obnoxious person in your entire life than this man here? I think everybody knows who he is, but yeah, he's just thoroughly and utterly obnoxious, isn't he?
He's not the sort of person you'd leave your children with, put it that way.
Yeah, well,
not that I'm implying anything illegal, but yeah,
just to be clear. He's not a fan. And the thing is, he obviously, it makes no bones about it that his YouTube channel is his job, it's his business. When people tell him to get a job, you know, in the chat, he'll say, "Well, this is my job. This is what I do," and he's proud to be a YouTuber. You know, a YouTuber that really is probably pulling in just £200 a month off ad revenue when you look at his Social Blade stats. And he's supporting a family. I don't know what his family must think. He's got a wife, he's got a kid, and he spends all day on the internet for what, £200-300 a month. He has his Patreon earnings freely available for everyone to see, and it's about 150 quid, something like that, or it was last time I checked. I don't know where I don't know what his wife is thinking. I don't know what example he's setting for his kid, but anyway, that's probably getting a bit personal.
If the kids could hear it. But apparently FTE reported that his wife had left him, which I find very sad. I don't like to see families breaking up, but there are other situations. You know, in some ways you sort of think, Anyway, I won't get into that either. We got to walk so carefully. This one is a Sasquatch. I suspect Ray. This is Ray Comfort. Banana Man is another word for him. If you watch the Sir Stick channel, you've certainly seen lots of him. I think in this photo, it was a publicity photo, but he decided to dye his hair the day before, and the results weren't very good.
Well, I don't know. I think he's looking all right for his age. I had a debate with Ray, and off air, I was on a Marvel Girls channel, and off air, before the debate started, he was so nice and so friendly and so polite. But I remember one thing he said to me. He said, "Listen, Al," he said, "if we're going to talk about evolution," he says, you need to have watched me versus Matt Dillahunty, because I had a chat with him and he couldn't handle me. I got him so frustrated. It was unbelievable. And then in the stream, he got tied up in knots. He goes, "This is very frustrating for me. Like, you won't talk about the things I want to talk about." It was hilarious. And then at the end of the debate, rather than hang around at the end, and say goodbye, he was gone. As soon as Marvel Girl said, "Right, debate's over," he was out the call, wouldn't speak to me, wouldn't talk to me again. Bless him.
Just demonstrating Christian love, of course.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
And this one almost as equally as horrifying.
Yeah, he seems to be almost as irrelevant as Dell now, doesn't he? Like, he's just off the planet. But I mean, the nonsense that comes out of this man's mouth is beyond. If you were to combine all the nonsense that come out of everybody's mouth that we've just seen, it wouldn't touch this guy. Yeah, he's. I mean, I don't know what to say. Everybody knows who Sleeping Warrior is. What an absolute plum.
You dealt with him in your early videos. I had some interactions with him. You've probably heard of my gosh observation. I've got a video on it. The observing the Southern Cross or Southern Stars, at least, from all the three southern continents at the same time. Still haven't figured out how to do that technically, but I need people in South America in particular. So if you know someone, let me know. But I spoke to Riley about it, and Riley said, "Well, how are you going to know where south is?" And I'm saying, "Find north, look the other way." And for some reason, that wasn't good enough for him. I never really figured it out.
So when I first came on the scene, it was he was the first person I dealt with, and I didn't even have a YouTube channel then. I was doing something as an educational thing for kids, and I ended up talking with him on Skype. And before, Conspiracy Catz took off and whatnot, I had probably about 1,000 messages with him on Skype. So I was kind of getting to know him, and I knew he was academically really weak. And I wouldn't ever say this to anybody if he hadn't accused me of
yes,
being inappropriate with children. Yeah. But he was making videos thinking he was debunking Einstein and relativity, while behind the scenes he was messaging me because he was doing his taxes and he couldn't figure out how to find 38% of the sum of a number. Just unbelievable. I had to talk him through step by step how to, divide. Well, I gave him the child's explanation. You divide your number by 100 to get 1%, and then you can times it by whatever percent you're looking for. If you want 38%, times it by 38. If you want 8, times it by 8. Like, I couldn't get it.
Yeah. Well, I also remember one of your earlier videos where you're talking about CO2, and Rolly said to you, "What's a CO2?"
Yeah, well, it's absolutely, some of the things he said have been absolutely bananas. I gave him a physics test, GCSE physics test for school kids over here. He failed it spectacularly, and I had to, because at that time I didn't really know him. I didn't want to show him up. I had to edit the video to the bits where he was repeating the right answers that I'd just given him to make it look like he'd passed. But in that test, like some of the things he'd say would be absolutely balmy. The charge of an electron is 1.6 times 10 to the minus 19 degrees Celsius. I was like, what? What are you talking about? But sorry, that was my daughter coming in. She's brought me my breakfast.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Well, bacon and egg butty.
It's actually this morning. I'm going a bit continental this morning. I'm having a pan of chocolate.
All right. Well, you're from Lancashire, aren't you? Shouldn't you be having chips and mushy peas for breakfast?
I should be. I'm from the same place, pretty much that Anthony Riley is. He's only about half an hour away from me.
Jeez, I'm glad I'm on the other side of the world. This guy, I only concluded him because you are always having this funny video with him making a phone call using a level.
The flat Earth millionaire. Now, he once made an offer. Was it $250,000, wasn't it? If somebody could show him water sticking to a spinning, the usual garbage.
Yeah.
But he was so blatant, he was so serious and pushing the fact how serious he was that he had this money because he's a millionaire and he was gonna give it to somebody if they could prove it to him. But then since then, for less than that money, he can get himself on Blue Origin or like Virgin Galactic. He can go and see it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
He won't do. He won't do.
No, he's yes. And I also remember in his video, he did one with Nathan Thompson explaining that challenge, I think. Yeah. And he was saying that he's turning over $750,000 a month. I'm saying, do you know the difference between profit and expenses? You're not making $750,000 a month. You might have spent $800,000 to get that $750,000.
Exactly. Yeah. We can all have a big turnover and be in big trouble. But bless him, I think I'm sure he has inherited a business and done quite well out of it, and good luck to him. But that kind of put your money where your mouth is. Why isn't he? Why are the flat Earth community not fundraising to get one of these prominent flat earthers up on Blue Origin so they can go and have a look for themselves? He's claiming he's got the money. They've done silly fundraisers for other stuff. It would be hilarious to see that. Absolutely hilarious.
Well, the thing is, I think anyone who goes who's a flat earther knows that no matter what he sees, when he comes back, they all say that he's controlled opposition and won't believe him. So it's kind of pointless.
But you are right. It doesn't matter. It could be Eric Dubay himself, I suppose. But when he come down and said it's a globe, I've seen the curve, then everyone else would be like, "Oh, I knew it all along. It's a shill." Oh, he's been cloned. He's been cloned. And the globe is taken up.
Or they put him in. They didn't put him on the rocket. They put him into a room and made him think he was in a rocket with simulations and things like that. Anyway, they'll come. They're so creative with their excuses. But and the last one was another guy you did a video from. We don't see much of this guy anymore. He's that guy.
Didn't he fail a Where's Wally challenge and have to delete his channel? Was it not Where's Wally who saw him off?
Well, that implies he has integrity. I don't think it was because he failed the challenge. I think he was just a lot of these people are the sort of guys who don't like to be questioned, and I think Where's Wally might have been the last straw, and he just felt YouTube's a place where he's never going to assert his authority, you might say. So he just deleted his channel. And I mean, when you're talking around saying, what is this, talking about space weight and what is this shit about gravity? I mean, he clearly had no idea what he was talking about, but it was absolutely certain he was right.
Well, he wasn't he? He was 100% certain he was right. You know, he used to send me messages, and not a very particularly nice guy, actually, which is why I use those clips.
No.
Before I even mentioned him, he was sending me like all sorts of really horrible messages, which is why I kind of comedified him in the videos. But I know he's still. I don't go on Facebook, but I've heard from a lot of people that he's quite active under his real name. I won't mention it here, but under his real name on Facebook, still blurting out his flat Earth nonsense.
Yes, yeah. Where's Wally has actually pointed me to it, and yes, he's doing that. It's funny that the ones you interact with Facebook, you look at their Facebook feed, and you see some crazy stuff. It's quite amusing. Anyway, now we can turn our attention to the wheel.
Let's do it.
Let's pick the first derper on the Wheel of Derp. Are you hearing the sound?
I am.
Good. We start with
Big man himself.
I can remove him. All right. And you might notice that if you've seen previous episodes of the Wheel of Derp, we had a rather ugly wheel. This one's a bit prettier, so I'm rather pleased about that. Let's see what the first question about Alex Jones is. Alex Jones's biggest issue.
So, do you mean his biggest issue is in his biggest personal problem, or the issue that he believes in most?
Answer the question whichever way you want to.
Well, I think his biggest issue, his biggest problem, is, and it came out in the trial, didn't it, when Owen Schreier was on the stand talking about how they operate at InfoWars, is that they would just be handed information that had just been printed off by one of the assistants from Google. Someone would send a message, and they would read it out as if it was fact on air. And I don't know if you're familiar with Owen Schreier, who can be quite amusing when he does his street interviews. I'll be absolutely honest. I think he's hilarious when he does his street interviews and stuff. But they'd just be given an article. They'd read it out as if it's fact in front of, audience of hundreds of thousands of people. No due diligence on it. No study, none of that. They'd just be given something, read it out. And then as a result, they say, I'm not going to repeat, obviously, what he said in here about the shooting and whatnot. But as a result, they spread an awful lot of misinformation, don't they?
Yes, yeah. If you're hearing background noises, my son coming in the door. Yes, it's misinformation is why we have YouTube channels. We're trying to make sure that we get the right sort of information out there, because YouTube's the sort of place where bullshit can pour out, and you get famous media people like Alex Jones who attract a lot of attention, even for all the wrong reasons, and they get a following amongst the vulnerable, and it's a vulnerable we're doing all this for.
It is a vulnerable. Sorry, go on.
Yes, yeah, definitely the vulnerable. I think it's time to get another question on the Wheel of Derp. Is it a fun question? Does he smell
of stinky poo? He smells of stinky poo, Hugh.
He smells of stinky poo.
He smells of stinky poo.
All right.
Stinky poo and wee.
Smells of stinky poo. Is that libelous? I don't know.
I've heard he smells of stinky poo and wee. How about that? Is that better?
Oh. Did that work? I'm not sure how this works. All right, cool. That's it for Alex Jones then, because I want to make sure we get through. We've been going half hour already. I want to make sure we get through all this.
Okay.
And here we go. Let's select another contestant on the Wheel of Derp. One derper we didn't mention earlier. Oh, no, we just missed him. I thought it was unfair to have all these people on here without having yourself on there. So
No, that's right. I totally agree.
And here's this is Phuket Word, otherwise known as Gigantor. Let's see what questions we have for Phuket Word. So if you met Phuket Word in real life, what would happen?
Probably strain my neck looking over, but no.
Yes.
I actually think he puts a lot of videos on his channel that aren't flat Earth related, of him just going around Phuket and being in a bar or being in a restaurant. And I'm sure if I met him in real life, he'd be a chilled out guy. And as long as we weren't talking about science or shape of the, we'd probably get on. He doesn't seem to be nasty. There are a lot of them that are quite nasty, but he doesn't seem to be one of them. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I get on with old Gigantor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it'd be fun to watch, really.
It would. Maybe he'd put me in his pocket and take me for a walk. I don't know.
Yeah, didn't you say that you were scared of Land of the Giants TV show when you were a kid?
Yeah, and he just brings it all back. It's like PTSD when I watch it.
All right, next question for Phuket Word. So if they're a flat Earth, I'd phrase this: who's their Papa Flirth? But because it's more general, I said, who is the hand up this Muppet?
I think he's one of the people that like handles others, but I know he's a fan of Dell, not so much Nathan Oakley. I think he's more his own man. I think he likes to think and solve things himself. But if I had to choose one, I'd say Dell. He probably lines up more with him, but I think really he's his own man.
Yeah. Nothing to do with Eric DeBay, saying he's sort of in the neighborhood.
Is that where he lives over there, DeBay?
In Thailand, yeah.
To be honest, I don't know much about DeBay because whenever I watch or try and look at an Eric DeBay video, just the monotonic, boring delivery, I can't be doing with it. Like I get 20, 30 seconds in and I got to turn it off.
Yeah. Yes, it is boring, that's for sure. It's and so obvious. I mean, did you see that the Next Level movie? DeBay didn't have that much to do with that one, I guess. It was the previous one. But I guess I was thinking that DeBay's like this. He'll give you just enough Googleable facts before he says he's complete utter nonsense. Yeah. So you feel like, oh, yes, that's verifiable. That's verifiable. That's verifiable. So therefore, this utter nonsense must be verifiable, if you don't know better.
Yeah. And that's a strategy that people use in all sorts of fields, the kind of anti, the virus deniers who deny viruses exist and stuff. They'll do similar things. They'll talk about exosomes. Now exosomes are real and you can Google exosomes. And then they'll just say, oh, and viruses are exosomes. You can't Google that bit, but everything else you said up to that point can be Googled. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yes, it's one described to me as you go if then therefore, and that's the way they convince you of batshit crazy stuff.
Exactly.
But there's an awful lot of ifs that have all got to be true before you even get there. So it's kind of unlikely. All right then, let's see who the next contestant is on the Wheel of Derp. Mr. Skinnyhead himself. Everyone in the chat, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, Bob.
Hashtag thanks, Bob. 15 degrees.
All right, then. Let's find a question for him. All right. Let's spin the Wheel of Derp. All right. Imitate Bob.
What was his exact words? So for such a long period of time, we wanted a fiber optic gyroscope, the most accurate gyroscope in the world. Because if the world was spinning and we had a fiber optic gyroscope, it would show a drift of 15 degrees per hour. And of course, we were confident that wouldn't happen until we bought one and we measured a drift of 15 degrees per hour. I'm not really much of an impressionist.
Yes, I'm wondering, how do we score that, people in the chat? Let's just go binary. 1 for good, 2 for bad. Cat's doing Winston Churchill. Okay.
Sorry, Stringer. That's the best I can do.
Yeah. Oh, we got 3s. Oh, we got 2. Okay. All right. Well, you don't get that question again on Bob, so you might get it on another one, but we'll see how we go. Oh, 1.5. That's diplomatic. There we go.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. And Bob's second question. A bit harder to tell for Bob.
Yeah, I think Bob probably has quite a high level of personal hygiene, but he does, he does talk an awful lot of manure. So I know that might balance out. No, I think he looks like a groomer, physical groomer. Instead of that, I mean, like grooms his hair and beard and stuff is what I meant to say. He looks like somebody who does a lot of grooming.
Well, actually, that picture to me reminds me of Chewbacca, the way he's done his hair.
Yeah. He does. That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll just clear this. So we're ready for the next contestant, I think. Yes, it looks like it's deleting them when it shouldn't be. Anyway, all right, time to spin for the next contestant on the Wheel of Derp.
This is such a great format. I love this.
Oh, I'm not prepared for that.
Came from a rock?
You thought you were evolved from a rock. I'm getting good at that.
Stop teaching the kids you came from a rock. Right. So what's the question?
It's funny how no one on Earth except him says that. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. What's the question for Kent Hovid on this Wheel of Derp? I think we need names for that. We got the Derper wheel, and then what's this one? The question wheel, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me get a better name. Do they smell? This one keeps coming up.
I mean, it is. We like to tackle the big issues.
Well, yes.
It is the important one.
Like, how does Chewbacca keep his ass clean? He's hairy.
God, yeah. Bum shuffles around the Millennium Falcon. Right. So, do they smell? Does he smell? I'm gonna say yeah, because I've seen videos of him on like Dino Adventureland or whatever he calls it, and he does seem to put a shift in. It's really hot. He'll drive around. He'll do a lot of manual work. So I think he's got that workman
hard-earned smell.
That hard-earned smell, yeah. Proud of it.
Would he really do work, or would he just have volunteers do it for him?
Well, I think he drives guests around, from what I've seen on the videos. So I don't know if he does all like the heavy lifting, but he's out there in the sun all day, driving people around, and I bet he's got to do something, surely.
Well, it is Alabama, which is quite warm, like here in Queensland. So it was hot and humid today, so it'd be something similar.
Yeah. He's got that. He's got that sweaty smell for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I can almost taste it.
So the next question for Kent Hovid on the Wheel of Derp. I've got to do a full Wheel of Derp yet. I haven't worked myself up to it yet. Right. So this is a more serious question.
That is a good question.
I want to be positive, you see. I wanted to sort of chart a course for them to get away from their stupidity and become a normal person again.
You see, the thing is, like, he obviously takes all his anti-evolution, anti-science beliefs from his religious beliefs, doesn't he? And
yeah, well, the ones he claims. I don't know if he's particularly religious in real life.
Well, I mean, there's evidence that he doesn't behave that way, isn't there? For sure.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yes.
And I don't think there is going back, because I think for him to for him to suddenly understand that he doesn't know anything about biology or genetics or radioisotopes or anything like that, he'll have to fly in the face of his religious beliefs. And I don't, I just can't see him doing that. I just can't. I think the best thing he can possibly do, if he wants some kind of middle ground, is just say, well, all right, I'm heavily religious. I believe in God, right? And I believe that God can create the world in whatever way he wants. And the scientific signposts he's left us tell us that he used evolution. That's probably the only way I can see him marrying, his beliefs and reality.
Yeah, it'd have to be something traumatic, wouldn't it?
Mm.
And he's had a few traumas. He's on his fourth wife, for example. Not to mention being in jail, and that didn't seem to slow him down. So I see a funny comment in the chat. It's a bit hard. It's a bit out of context, and anyone outside of Australia probably won't get it. Like a Gold Coast cabbie. I think he means he's lost like a Gold Coast cabbie.
Right.
So, but a Gold Coast cabbie is a good place to get drugs and things like that. So there's that dimension to it as well. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. Let me just reset this. It's not working the way I expected it to, but that's all right. It's simple to fix. All right, let's find our next contestant. Well, how many got left? We got 7 left. Who will it be? Shall we root for picking you this time?
Let's go for it. Let's see if we can Uri Geller it to happen.
Yes. All right. Yes. Positive vibes, everyone. Who's the next contestant on the Wheel of Derp? Oh, that's a good one. No, it's not you. Is it a liner? We're into the Sasquatch. Mr. Banana Man. All right, let's see what question we got for Ray Comfort. This will be interesting, actually. Oh, no. I tipped over. It's like a magnet.
It is the best question on the board, and it is one that, in all honesty, seriously needs asking. So it is a good one. No,
based on that photo, I'd say yes, but
well, see, I think he's quite well kept. I think he's a bit like Bob and Dale. He'll he's not unkempt, is he? So I think he's got a good level of personal hygiene.
Yeah, he's more like an Ewok than Chewbacca, though.
He does look a little bit like what was that? Wicket Warwick. He was a famous Ewok, wasn't he?
He was an Ewok, yeah.
I used to have a little figure for him. The guy who played him, like he does a lot of TV in America, like hosts game shows and stuff. A guy from Willow.
Yes, and he was in Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, I think, as well.
Yeah. I think loads of Star Wars films as well, but he obviously always masked up and whatnot. Yeah, he's been in some big franchises for someone who's actually not. He's probably more recognizable for his height than his face, isn't he? But he's been in a lot of big franchises.
He does have a distinctive face, though. So I seem to remember he's been in some sort of gangster movie or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or something as well. But maybe I'm just completely wrong.
He
All
was
right,
in...
next question.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go. You're the guest.
No, I was just going to talk about things he'd been. Honestly, crack on, mate. Crack on. Sorry.
Oh, all right. Next question for this is Ray Comfort, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's tipped over the Poe. So yeah, is he for real, basically, or is he just pretending?
Is he for real? I mean, maybe there was a point where he was absolutely just for his beliefs and stuff, but I don't know how somebody like that can make so much money. Because, I mean, the guy's an extremely wealthy man, isn't he? And for it not to be about more than just his beliefs, is a lot of the things he says and does now, about generating an income. So, I don't know. I think deep down he'd admit to himself that he's not sure about a lot of the things he says on science. So yeah, possibly there's a bit of a Poe side to him.
Yeah, it seems to me anyone who's a TV evangelist is a grifter, basically. And I remember that video of Ray and Kent, I think it was, not Kent Hovind, but is it Kent, or forget what his offside is called. We're in Prague, and he was shouting at people, and he was throwing away €1 million, he said, but it wasn't. It was just a tract with a fake euro note on it. So he deceived them. They were pretty happy to receive that, weren't they? It was quite amazing, and shouting at people who didn't necessarily speak English too. So it just seemed to be just trying to get as many people involved with him as possible, so he can get donations from them. The tithe comes in and that kind of thing. And you see all the what's his name? What's the Kenneth Copeland?
Yes.
And Tammy Baker and her husband, and all those, and here in Australia, the Hillsong guy, I believe he's had some legal troubles. It's just hard to see them as genuine, put it that way, based on the evidence that's publicly available.
Agreed.
Anyway, let's continue on. Who is the next contestant on the Wheel of Derp? I'm getting a bit sexy there, I think. Well, speaking of lots of money, at least what he thinks he has, Tanner Stewart, otherwise known as Flat Earth Millionaire. And what question do we have for him? I'd like to see some of the other questions. Let's see if we don't get to, in fact, I might even remove "Do They Smell?" just so we don't get that one again for now. And let's see what we get. It's a funny question, but we can't have it too many times. All right, this is actually a good question for Tanner Stewart. Where will he be in 5 years?
I think, like a lot of the internet flat earthers, in 5 years they'll have just disappeared. It's already shrinking to the point where it's a fraction of what it was 4 years ago, and I don't really see him making that much content these days. I just think we'll be asking in 5 years whatever happened to him. I think that's what we'll be saying.
Will he still be making calls to you on his level?
He will never stop making calls to me on his spirit level mobile phone. I don't know why that cracks me up so much. It's not even funny, but I love it. Yeah, he will never stop.
Oh, hello. I can't even do your voice. You're good at that. Yeah. You said you're not good at imitating. I guess you're good at your original voices. All right. What's the second question for Tanner Stewart? Yes, this will be an interesting one, given his involvement in the Level movies. Who has the hand up this Muppet? Who's his Papa Flurf?
Yeah, I think he's firmly in that Dubé camp, isn't he? What do you think?
Well, that movie was Hibbler and Dearth mainly. He's more in that camp. Yeah.
See, that's how out of touch I am with it these days. So, yeah. See, and that's not because I don't really see much of. I think already he's kind of disappearing into other conspiracies and stuff. And I think when COVID came along, a lot of flat earthers just kind of went with that and kind of almost lost interest with the flat earth stuff. I know it's a real decline around about that time with these smaller channels where they just started talking about, denying viruses exist and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't even know if Flat Earth Millionaire is putting out a lot of content these days.
Yeah, I had a look at his channel I was looking for a screenshot, and I eventually took it off your video. He's basically been talking about the Next Level movie and the one that's coming out in April.
Right.
I hope it's got a little bit more evidence than the last one, because the last one had zero evidence. In fact, had deliberate deceit.
It is brilliant when they bring out these documentaries, which are, well, the mockumentaries, aren't they? They're just full of nonsense, start to finish. And to see the kind of like the support they get, it's like, oh wow, this is this is amazing. Thanks. You know, if only the mainstream media had the balls to show this on TV. It's like, oh my goodness, you know, it is the worst kind of tosh, isn't it?
It is. The whole meeting the warship apparently near Antarctica, even though they were in shorts and t-shirts, you know, and they blurred out the text on the image so that you couldn't identify the channel it was from, but you could figure it out from the t-shirts. And then you go to the original channel, look it up. It has a lat long, and it's in the middle of Bass Strait, nowhere near, you know, thousands of kilometers from Antarctica. And they dubbed over they didn't play any of the sound from that video. They certainly didn't ask their permission for it. They were just clearly deception, really obvious deception, and yet they think that's okay.
And we see the same with that, like, what's that document? That Died Suddenly documentary that's going around that the anti-vaxxers are jumping all over now. And I think it was a flat earther who made that, Stu Peters, or at least if he's not a flat earther, he had Dearth on, and they were talking about evidence for flat earth on his podcast, and whatnot. But he did the same in that documentary, didn't he? He took a video of an autopsy that happened pre-pandemic, you know, like before the virus, before the vaccine, inserted it into the video, and then just said, "Oh, look at this guy died because of blood clots, because of the." It's just the dishonesty is on another level.
Well, even if
maybe that's why it's called the next level.
Yes, well, yes, dishonesty on another level. Or Dead Kennedy in Space called it the next level of stupid, which was pretty right. But yeah, even if that guy had died of the vaccine, that's one guy. There have been billions of vaccines delivered. You need to prove how many, you know, what percentage of that gave an injury. Every vaccine will give some injury to someone, but it's only a problem if it's like an awful lot of people, and there's no evidence that that's the case.
No, there isn't.
And we shouldn't have been saying that V word, should we?
No, sorry. I'll keep me. I'll make that last one. I've got away with it on my channel a few times, but I will zip it.
And and you've been using the term medical intervention, so we'll stick with that for now. And I do take the point, though, it isn't really the V word, because it doesn't stop the spread like a chickenpox V word. But that's not a big concession, because, you know, it was just a media term, and the media are like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. So who will be the next contestant on the Wheel of Derp? We only got 5 left, including you. Who do you want it to be out of these 5?
I want it to be John Campbell, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's coming up within 4 goes, so we'll see what happens. Let's spin the Wheel of Derp. Ooh, it's Derpy Derp.
Me, the worst one.
That handsome lad. Or is it John Campbell without glasses? I can't quite tell.
It's like, yeah, that face there is going to regenerate into John Campbell. I think that's what.
Possibly. Yeah, like Doctor Who, yeah. Only less change. All right. First question for this Culture Catz guy, whoever he is, on the Wheel of Derp. That's a tough one.
It is. Well, the answer's got to be yeah. I mean, like, if anybody thinks that I'm not playing some kind of character on those old Conspiracy Catz videos and stuff like that, that'd make me a pretty odd guy in real life, wouldn't it? So, yeah, definitely to some level, got to be 100%.
Well, you're being a Poe in Chatbox Travels and things like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't deny that.
May I say, though, about Chatbox Travels, of course, MC Toon took over your Conspiracy Catz channel, and he has kept Chatbox Travels going, and he's doing a brilliant job. His voices he's putting in, I mean, the American version of your voices rather than a British one, but he's doing a really good job, I think.
You know what? I'm just stoked with the way that channel's going, because when I'd left it, it was losing subs because I was only making a video once every 2.5 months. Like it was losing. It started to get to the point where it wasn't gaining. It was just like losing subscribers and stuff. And then obviously MC Toon took over, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's a new face here," and it lost a little bit. And then he's put out such good content that not only is he like stopped the loss, but he's gaining subs at a good rate now. He's passed through the 60,000 sub barrier. Like he's running away with it. So yeah, he does a great job. I've got a lot of time for McToon. I think he's great.
He's one of the best creators in the community, if you want to call it that.
100%.
Yeah. And he was pretty good on the Wheel of Derp too.
I watched that. Yeah, it was good.
I had a question to ask you though, because you had two channels. You had Conspiracy Catz and Baldy Catz, and you gave them away because, as you said, you wouldn't be able to keep up the videos. But you wanted to look after your subscriber base, which is very admirable. And you decided to give it to MC Toon or Mr. Sensible, and you did. They told me you did a coin toss, not a toin toss, to choose who got what. I think it's rather suspicious. Was that a loaded coin that Mr. Sensible got Baldy Catz?
Actually, I'll definitely come to that, but you called it a toin toss, right? When we were having the conversation, the three of us online before we did it, we were doing the same. We were like let's do the toin toss. No, coin toss. All three of us were doing that. Must be a common thing. No, we used a virtual coin online. We brought up a virtual coin flipper thing.
Much like the
screen.
Wheel.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, just like that, and then we hit it. So no, not a coincidence, but fitting. Yeah, fitting, but not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a coincidence.
Well, I'm just jealous that you didn't have a channel called Fatty Cats, because that would have been mine.
Well, if you look at that picture that you're using me, I was Fatty Catz not so long ago. I was 30 pound heavier in that picture, actually. I've dropped a bit over last year, but I remember. That picture is definitely Fatty Catz.
So you dropped 30 pounds. So well done on that. But each of my eyelashes are 30 pounds. Okay, second question for this Derpy Catz guy on the Wheel of Derp. This will be interesting. And I'm starting to doubt the randomness of this wheel. We seem to get the same questions a bit too much, but we'll see how we go. So who's a hand up you?
Who drives me to do what
Simon Dan or Delve even?
No, I think a lot of flat earthers would think Simon Dan, because we definitely started off together. Obviously, he's gone on to great things and whatnot. But we have done a lot of stuff together. I've done the podcast with him. So a lot of flat earthers would say Simon Dan. But to be honest, I tend to make the videos I make. I look for suggestions in the comments. So maybe like my own subscribers, even though they don't know it, they'll mention things. I'll look in the comments and I'll think, I'll look into that. And then I'll find the video, make something on that. So yeah, I think my subscriber base would be the hand that drives me, I think.
That's good. Speaking of Simon Dan, I had arranged for him to do a live stream with me, but then he got COVID. And he hasn't returned my call since. So if you happen to be chatting to him, can you just remind him I'd like to have him on the Wheel of Derp?
I will. I've got him on WhatsApp. I'll pop him a message.
All right, cool. And so we're left with 4 derpers. We've got rid of Fatty Catz. Let's see who else we can get. Oldie Catz, I guess. Shouty Catz, Dopey Catz, and what would you call that guy?
Irrelevant Catz.
Irrelevant Catz. Well, a lot of them are relevant, aren't they?
Well, yeah, it's true.
Let's spin the Wheel of Derp.
Oh, bless.
Looks like it's going to be Irrelevant Catz. Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the listeners don't even remember that guy. He just clearly, I guess Flatsoid, it would be a similar bloke today.
Yeah.
Flatsoid, someone who's absolutely supremely confident that they know everything they're talking about with no real reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, Dunning-Kruger beyond belief. The confidence he'd speak with, was such a contradiction to the words that come out of his mouth. Like you said, that clip, you know, mass is weight, but this weight is space weight.
Yes. Totally misunderstanding the concept of weight. Yeah.
Oh, dear me. And then why would they even invent gravity then? Why would they even invent gravity? Oh, my goodness. But said with such confidence. What a legend. What a legend.
What is this shit about mass?
Yeah. What is this shit about mass? Why did they invent gravity? You know, but saying as if he was making some kind of valid point. Oh, bless him. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it is Dunning-Kruger, but it's more that they have had no experience outside of their own knowledge. So they can't comprehend that there's more to it than what they know. And I know that's just what Dunning-Kruger is, but from their point of view, he was being perfectly legitimate. He doesn't know any better, so he can't possibly know that he's wrong. So
it's like John Cleese said, isn't it? These people are so stupid and they know so little that they have no idea about how stupid they are and how little they know about something. They just don't know. Yeah, you know, they think it is as simple as just what they can see and then put together in their own mind.
Yeah, because they've never done anything else.
Exactly.
But I'm careful of saying that they're stupid. I mean, some people have to demonstrate themselves as stupid. I don't assume they're stupid, but often they don't simply know anything. And once they learn things, they think, "Oh, okay, I was wrong about that," and they move on. And
so more ignorance, perhaps.
Yeah, to me, stupid people are people who know better but do it anyway.
Yeah, maybe. But I think with a lot of them, there is an amount of willful ignorance in the fact that they'll say, "I'm only asking questions. I only want to find this out. I only want to know." And then they'll ask the question, and you'll explain it, and they won't know anything you're talking about, but they'll just scoff at your answer anyway, and then go on and ask the same question to someone else and scoff at their answer. And you know, so there is that kind of like lack of willingness to even consider or try and understand what people are saying to them. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yes, it's the vulnerable ones are also in that class, and they're the ones we're trying to make this provide this information so that they don't have to be like that, and don't get fooled by the people who are so confident that they're right when they've got no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, and that's why we always ask for empirical evidence. First, always get annoyed when you ask for evidence of flat Earth. But that's how you tell whether you're in cognitive dissonance or not. If you can actually provide some objective evidence for what you're talking about, then you're not in cognitive dissonance because it matches reality. Yeah. But they don't like that because they know they can't do it.
Exactly.
All right. And we're still on that guy. And the second question for that guy. Didn't we just have this? Oh, that was the last one. I'm going to spin again because we've had this one too many times. Do you want to do that? I can give you another one.
Oh, I'll give that a go.
Okay.
Weight is mass, but this weight is space weight. There we go. And that is word for word what come out his mouth.
Just wonderful. And he was one of those flirts who drove in his car a lot as well. That's always a sign that people at home aren't cool with what he's doing.
You know, that is a good point. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that. I just thought maybe like got a busy day, you know, you just think, I'll just make a video on my way to work and whatnot. But I suppose, you know, if you're doing that almost exclusively like he was, then there's got to be a certain amount of embarrassment or disagreement at home, surely.
All right, so we're down to 3 derpers, 2 flat earthers and 1 misinformation person, I guess, or at least not the full information based on the video that went on Simon and Dan that you did. Good, well done on that, by the way. That was very thorough.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
I hope everyone. I think it's Simon Dan's latest video too, actually. So go to Simon Dan's channel. It's either the latest one or the one before that, and have a look at what Conspiracy Catz did in terms of debunking Dr. John Campbell. And I should make the point, John Campbell is a PhD doctor. He's not a medical doctor. He's a nurse, and he's been training nurses and things like that. So he's got a lot of medical knowledge, but he's not a medical doctor. He's a nurse.
Yeah.
And I respect the fact that he's got a PhD. That takes a lot of work.
He's an intelligent guy for sure. He's no fool. He's no fool, absolutely.
Unlike the other two on the wheel right now. Yeah. All right. We're getting down to the end of the Wheel of Derp. How many? Let's see what happens. Ooh, Riley or Oakley? Which one will it be? Oakley. Sorry, Riley. Oh, Riley. I love it when Riley gets into FDFE's chat. He doesn't do it so much now, but he used to do it. And FDFE would go, "Hello, Riley. How are you?" As if he was on Romper Room. You could talk to the level,
Yeah. But I mean, he's with Riley, when you're speaking to him, there comes a point where it just doesn't matter what comes out your mouth, because it's just in one ear, out the other. He doesn't want to listen, and all he wants to do is play word games. He wants to pick on a word you say. If I've got the feeling if you pulled over in the street and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me the direction to wherever, Manchester?" He'd say, "What do you mean by direction?" And then want to have half an hour debate with you about defining direction. I can't answer that question until you define what direction means. Anyway.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's a tactic used by Flirts a lot, and particularly by Riley, because he's got that lawyer background. Their job is to create conflict and argument and win it. And I think the fact that he didn't really succeed as a lawyer, he got into Flat Earth to try and win the unwinnable argument. And prove that he actually is good as a lawyer. You know what I mean? But yeah, also there's a whole contrarian aspect to it as well. They're against the mainstream no matter what, no matter how ridiculous it might be.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Whatever happens, whatever big event, whatever happens, it's a cover up. It's a conspiracy. It's a lie. And they're very much like auto hoaxes, aren't they? They just immediately don't believe anything.
Yes, it's hard to. If it comes from the government, it's a lie. Well, that's good advice in general, but if you can verify it for yourself, you don't have to act like that, And not everything can be a lie. So,
absolutely.
Yes, especially in the UK, given the number of prime ministers you've gone through, you had you ribbed Australia about that when we went through that.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a time. Yeah, it was, and I'm not sure how long this one will last, to be honest. So, interested. It was Liz Truss was brilliant. She popped in for a couple of weeks, absolutely ruined the economy, destroyed people's lives with the mortgages, and then sodded off for a nice little pension. It's like, my goodness, and they make a film about that.
There's two things about her prime ministership that interest me. First of all, she was the shortest ever prime minister, shortest term, and yet she spanned two monarchs. And the second thing about her is that basically, as soon as the Queen met her, the Queen died.
Bless, yeah. Yeah, so, bless, she did.
What does it say about her?
Oh, yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Yeah, she certainly had an impact, didn't she? She was the shortest serving, biggest impact prime minister we've ever seen.
Yes,
incredible.
I can make comparisons to Australian prime ministers, but I'm not going to do that right now. Who did we select? We selected Riley, wasn't it?
Yes, Riley. Yeah.
And we don't think we've got a question for him yet, have we? Or did we?
No,
we
didn't do that.
All right. We're getting so off track that we can't remember what's going on. All right, let's spin. What question we got for Riley? Marker Actor says this stream has been going on for longer than Truss was PM. Is Riley a Poe?
Yes, 100%. You know, when he first came on the scene, he, I believe, anyway, he went on to, because I've heard Del talking about it, but I've not seen it. Apparently, he went on to Del's channel to argue against Del, you know, and he brought what he considered to be evidence for the globe and stuff. And then, like 2 months later, he started a channel claiming to be a flat earther. So he is absolutely, I think, 100% a Poe.
Yeah, I remember Del saying that too. And it comes back to what I was saying earlier, that because he's trying to prove that he should have been a good lawyer by trying to win the unwinnable argument, I think.
Yeah.
To some extent. I mean, there's other factors involved too. What will be his second question? All right. So this is more what sort of character is he? So, you know, is he a clapped out old Volkswagen? Is he a Ferrari? What is he?
Well, I've seen it because when we got it, remember I said earlier on, like we've exchanged thousands of like messages on, or about 1,000 messages on Skype before I started the YouTube channel. He sent me a video of his Range Rover and he put it into a garage to have some kind of like metallic finish on it. It was like a mirror. It did look nice. I've got a feeling that that's where all his money went into his car. But it was a nice car, to be fair. It was a nice car, big Range Rover, and he had a It's Flat license plate. I don't think it was a legal one. You only ever saw him driving it with that on the beach, so I don't think it was like a proper road legal license plate. But yeah, that's what he drives, or at least did do.
I seem to remember that turning his car on was the sequence. He had the Knight Rider music going, that sort of thing. It was the start to one of his movies. It was like the intro, not movies, videos.
That is it. Yeah, I remember that, like a trailer, like one man can make it. And to be fair, that was quite an amusing little trailer. Yeah, but that was his car, because I've seen other videos of him with that. Yeah.
Have you heard Ranty's story about Riley?
I've heard a few. So go on. Which one's this?
This is the one where Riley fell down a cliff.
Oh, I've seen the pictures, the aftermath of that.
Yes. Yeah, I had Ranty on. It's about a year ago now, and he told the story so well. I did a video on it. So if you want to read that, watch that and get Ranty's story. That was good. Okay, so 50-50. Which way is it going to go? Future Catz or Shouty Catz? Which way? On the Wheel of Derp.
I think Destin is going to have to make Nathan Oakley last. So we're destined for it to be Nathan Oakley now. Hang on, let's just do that again. No, so
okay, Oakley Jokley. All right, question about Nathan Oakley. It's like a magnet. I forgot to take it out this time, and it came up.
Yes, he does, and he smells of, I believe, you know when you put bacon in the fridge, and then it's just starting to go on the turn. It smells a little bit like that. It smells a little bit like that. I'm sure he does.
Given bacon's smoked, it's a bit hard to go on the turn, but you have to be there a while. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've managed it in this. I think it just kind of like that funky bacon smell. I think that's what I believe. That's the impression I get.
All right.
And
I'm just thinking, seeing we only got 2 left, and we're on the second one now, we might get 3 questions out of these 2 because we got time. So that seemed all right.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Let's spin the second question for Nathan Oakley. Now, this will be interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one.
Oh, it's quantum eraser all day long. All day long. I remember, again, before, I know I keep saying before I started the YouTube channel, etc., but Sleeping Warrior O'Reilly put me in contact with QE, And I actually had a couple of conversations with QE on Skype, just talking. And this was, I don't know what they thought they were going to get out of talking with me, but I was planning something for the kids. What I was basically doing with the kids I was teaching is I was collecting flat earth arguments. So then we could debunk them in the classroom so the kids would be excited. You know, they'd be like, rather than just learning about refraction, we could set it against the backdrop of these people saying spectacularly stupid things, and we could like debunk them. And that's what I was doing, like trying to create engaging like learning situations in the classroom. So they knew that I was just collecting silly arguments from them. But still, I had a conversation with QE, and QE specifically told me that turning point in Nathan Oakley's channel, where he went from being nice to overnight just screaming and shouting, muting everybody. He specifically said that he was the one that told Nathan he had to do it. And he was so proud. He was like, I've turned him into a monster. Nobody can beat him. You know, I've done that. And it's not that nobody can beat him. He says a lot of stupid stuff that's easily disproved, but nobody can be heard correcting him because they're always on mute, because you've told him to mute everybody and shout at them. You know, it's very odd. But yeah, he was very proud that he was the one that mentored Nathan to that point.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that Conor Barraza was smart enough to be a Papa Flirt.
I don't think he's smart enough in his arguments, but I think in the way that he, the way that like he handles Nathan and guides him in terms of you should be talking about, you know, talking about this person or that person, or in kind of like the way he deals with people. I think he kind of mentors him in that kind of style.
What, he's a tutor in arseholishness.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, he's the arsehole mentor. Because let's face it, over on the Nathan Oakley's channel, they don't really have topic. Like, they'll think of one topic that will take them ages to think about, and then they'll talk about that one topic for months and months and months and months and months. Like when I first came, it was perspective, and was perspective included in the maths in the curve calculator, which is a dumb question to start with. But I think for an entire year, that's all they talked about in any of the streams. And then somebody showed them the Rayleigh criterion, and it became diffraction. And that's what they talked about for a year. And God knows what they're talking about now. So I don't think they actually come up with a lot of ideas. I think they just come up with strategies on how they're going to piss people off, basically.
Yes. In fact, I think you're the last person to actually speak to Nathan Oakley outside of his own echo chamber.
You know, and that was funny because not only 2 days before that, I stumbled across a channel that was doing some flat earth stuff. And I don't know if you're familiar with a lady called Channel Q. I don't know if she's still around. She only had a very small channel. She was on there, and she was speaking to Nathan, and she brought up the fact that Nathan never let anybody speak and always interrupted people. And so every time Nathan started speaking, she just interrupted him. And by the end of the stream, Nathan, I honestly, if that stream is still out there, we've got to find it. He was almost in tears, and he was saying, please, please, I'm begging you, let me speak. That's what he was reduced to. And then it was 2 days later, I think, like, because he was shamed for that little bit. It was 2 days later that he pestered Riley to let him on when I was speaking with Riley. And I think that's what happened. And of course, that didn't end well for Nathan either. So he hasn't spoken to anybody outside his channel since.
Jeez.
Yeah, he had a rough week.
Yeah. All right. I think we're on the last question for Nathan Oakley. That didn't come out right. The last question for Nathan Oakley. There we go. How can you return to sanity? I've got a feeling that if what FDFE said is true about his marriage, he's going to be having a lot of soul searching in the next few months and maybe years.
Yeah, and I think with Nathan, I think honesty, he needs to just start being honest. That because nothing he does, nothing about the way he approaches anything is honest in any way. You know, if he wants to have a conversation with someone, he'll shout and scream at them. Then he won't listen to what they've got to say. Then he'll shout and scream at them some more, and then he'll start posting a lot of abusive messages to them. And that's how he deals with people. He doesn't have any kind of honest interaction with anybody ever. And, you know, that's where he's got to start. And when he does, and honestly starts thinking about what he hears, like say a bit of soul searching about the effect that his beliefs are having on his life, maybe that'll help him out. But I just think he's too much of a bellend.
Yes, well, that's essentially what it comes down to. Got a couple of suggestions in the chat. The Snark says a good spanking is how he can return to sanity. String of News 1 made me laugh. One of my members, welcome here, String of News 1. He said decapitation. A little harsh, I think, but I get the idea. And the Snark also said hide his mute button. So that would probably help.
Definitely.
Yes. All right. Guess what? We've got one more derper left.
Who could it be? It's me in 20 years.
Let's find out who will be the last contenders on the Wheel of Derp. Spinning round and round and round.
Who is it?
And
it's John Campbell.
It's John Campbell. What a surprise.
Love it.
All right. So 3 questions for John Campbell. What do you think about John Campbell, I guess? On the Wheel of Derp. Okay. So I've got a feeling the advice you're going to give, John could well do.
Well, I think it's similar to the advice I give Nathan Oakley. Like, for example, yesterday he released a video where John Campbell talked to, I forget what the name of the test was, but he said there was somebody had developed a test to see what, if 2 things were linked. And he basically, was it to do with a drug or smoking or something? That's it. And he said they did a lot of statistical analysis and they found that in this country, people who were smoking were getting bronchitis, or I forget exactly what he said. In this country, they were getting bronchitis. In this country, they were getting bronchitis. In this country. So he said, when in all those countries where the cigarettes have been given and people are getting bronchitis, then we know that the cigarettes are causing bronchitis. And he was obviously talking about a particular medical intervention and what that might particularly cause. So I thought, he's finally going to... Oh, Hugh's dropped.
No, I'm here.
Oh, I couldn't see at the bottom. I thought I was just talking to myself.
No. I just made you bigger because you're tiny. Because when I put you in this format, you're tiny. So I thought, we'll just make you bigger while you're talking.
Oh, right. So sorry. So anyway, I thought he was then going to go on his video to say, well, we found that people are losing lives because of this disease in this country and this disease in this country and this disease. So therefore, a particular intervention might have caused this particular disease. And that's what we're talking about. But he didn't. He didn't do that at all. He laid the groundwork for that. And then he just started talking about excess deaths in places as if it was the same kind of quantitative link that he was. I've not explained that very well at all. In fact, that was really poor. If I could wind back time, I would do. But essentially, he needs to be a little bit more honest. He needs to show the full picture, not handpick and select data. He needs to show something in full, analyze it in full. And when he does that, he'll realize that what he's looking at and what he's analyzing doesn't support the conclusions that his subscribers are making, is my opinion. Bit more thoroughness and honesty from him.
From the other channels I've seen debunking him, they seem to feel that he's feeding the conspiracy theorists rather than. I mean, he always talks about looking at the data. In fact, I think in his background he says follow the data wherever it leads.
Yeah,
and that's fine as long as it's all the data. If you're just following the things you're interested in, then you're not really being scientific for a start. And that's what he's trained in. You think he'd know better.
Well, that's it. It is unbelievably selective. Like that video, for those who haven't seen it, that I put out on Simon Dan's channel, he made a video where he talks about excess deaths in Australia, and he goes really into depth about giving us all the numbers for excess deaths in Australia. And he says in this video, we're going to look at some possible causes for this. And then he talks about lots and lots of excess deaths in Australia. And then he just starts talking about heart-related deaths in England and how they're an excess. And he creates this kind of impression in the subscriber's mind that people are dying from these heart-related conditions because of a particular intervention. But what he doesn't do is actually show the proper data in Australia that he linked to, but obviously didn't look at, to show that actually, you know, the particular heart-related illness that he was discussing in the UK is below baseline average in Australia. There's not an excess there. And therefore, if the biology between the two countries is the same, which it will be, then we can rule out a particular medical intervention for the heart-related deaths because it's not happening in both places. But he just didn't bother. You know, just didn't bother looking, didn't bother showing it. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, I guess he's a YouTuber, so his job is to provide a show that people want to watch. And it's hard to get views when you're on the fence, as I know, that's for sure, because I sort of like to look at both sides. But he's already got his strong base. To over 2 million subscribers is, you know, that's a fair bit of money each month, I imagine. And he's got his gold YouTube symbol or wherever it is for that. If he's totally committed to the medical truth and being a medical professional providing, well, I don't know if he claims to give medical advice, but he's certainly analysing the data and saying this is the way to look at it. Why would you try and wield in your own personal biases into that? So, Planet Work asks, are you going to make any more videos on him?
Yeah, I probably will at some point, but I don't want to. What I did with my old channel was I kind of got stuck in the rut that I was always making videos on the same thing, and that's what made me bored. And you know, so I don't want to get in the rut where it's always about John Campbell. But at the minute, I am gunning for like medical misinformation.
Yeah,
for the next couple of months, and then I'll probably move on to something else. So yeah, I probably will.
It seems to have exploded recently. You know, we sort of got through the pandemic. Everyone was saying, yes, we'll do whatever we need to do. And then we got to the point where, okay, now we can look back at the pandemic. At where did we go wrong? Where did we go right? And that's where there's a hell of a lot of argument. So,
well, yeah, you're right. And the thing about this kind of discussion, this online discussion, is there are a lot of nuances in it. It's not black and white like, well, of course, it's so obvious the earth isn't flat. You can look and say, right, at the beginning of a pandemic, there are a number of possible different strategies we could take. Some are going to have advantages in some areas. Some are going to have advantages in another. And they're going to, you know, risks and benefits are going to change depending on what strategy you take. And then post the event, you can look back and say, did we take the right path? And all of those are valid discussions to have, for sure. But, you know, these people are muddying the waters by either outright lying in the case of the Died Suddenly film, or being very, very, very cherry picking with the data. And of course, people look at people like John Campbell, who is articulate, is intelligent, he's had a good career as a nurse, very educated, and they think, oh, good enough for me, he must know what he's talking about. And I believe he does know what he's talking about, but it's a shame he doesn't show it all.
Yeah. Up to a certain point. During the height of the pandemic, I was going to him just to find my data sources where I could find information. But yeah, and I was hoping that I was trusting that because he was a medical professional and had all this training and done all the work for a PhD, that I was getting good advice. Yeah. Anyway, let's not. You've done videos on this. You don't need to do another one right now. So everyone, go and watch that. Culture Catz channel is in the description, and it's also the video we're talking about. It's also on Simon Dan. Let's next question for John Campbell. And Dr. John Campbell, he earned his doctorship.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I can't see it.
Hang on. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing. I spun the wheel and I didn't share it. Sorry. I wanted to put your pretty face on the screen, you see. So
I don't think it's ever been described as pretty before, but
well, that's why I wanted to do it, but I'll put this one on instead. So if you met Dr. John in real life, what do you think would happen?
Well, I think if I was sit down and have a chat with him, I would just ask him, you know, what you're doing, you know, and I think that's it. I would ask, what is it you think you're achieving? Do you honestly believe you are presenting the full information to people? And if not, why? You know, I'd be really interested for him to sit down and just answer that question. But you know, obviously, I don't think he strikes me as like a Nathan Oakley type character. I'm sure we'd get on, But I think I just want to know what he thinks he's doing, really.
Yeah, kind of like a meeting of two professionals who disagree with each other, because professionals disagree all the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's capable of having a conversation like that. But what irks me a little bit is he has said a few times on his channel, and his subscribers will say this a lot, that he's happy to discuss anything with anybody, and I've heard him say that, he's more than open to discuss anything with anybody. But actually, I challenge anybody to find a video of him online where he is actually responding in real time to somebody who's questioning him. I don't think in that community of YouTubers they do, head-to-head debates and stuff like that. But I don't think he's ever spoke to someone in real time. He might respond to people's videos or something, but yeah, he just doesn't have that conversation with people.
I wonder if that's he's the personality type. He's been a teacher. He's been a leader in his medical teams and things like that. And he just doesn't like being questioned. He wants to be correct. He's got all this knowledge in his head. He's worked hard for it, but he wants to make sure that he's correct. And so as a result, he doesn't like being questioned. I don't know. It's pure speculation. I'm not trying to say anything about him, to be honest.
I think you're right. Back Dr. Susan Oliver, who's got the channel Back to the Science, she was an acquaintance, if you like, of John Campbell's. And when he was originally putting those videos out where he was updating people about the data when the virus was spreading to start with, she was a guest on his channel a couple of times, and they were talking about the benefits of social distancing and hand washing and mask wearing, all that kind of stuff. And then he made that video about ivermectin, about a paper about ivermectin. It got quite famous. The BBC kind of like did a fact-checking thing on it, and he was proven to be wrong. But before like the BBC got hold of it, Dr. Susan Oliver sent him a message. And I know this because I've got her on my DMs in Twitter. And it's not secret, a lot of people know. But she sent him a message just to say, oh, listen, you've misunderstood this study, you've got it wrong, you've misrepresented it, something like that, thinking that he'd come back and say, oh God, let's do a retraction or whatever. And he just didn't respond. And he from that moment on, he just wouldn't respond to her, just completely ghosted her, wouldn't speak to her. And like I say, she's questioned him, she's told him he's wrong, and then he's spat his dummy out.
It's not the best of evidence. Sorry, there's nothing wrong with the evidence. It's that it's not the best story that the evidence is telling.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. I think we got one more question for Dr. John Campbell. It's the last question of this episode of the Wheel of Derp. Okay, this probably doesn't really apply to Dr. John so much.
Well, I don't know. Like,
he's not like he's got a pop of flurf, put it that way.
No, but I have seen instances where, like, a small conspiracy YouTube site will bring up some kind of obscure paper or obscure study or something like that, and then like the next day it's on John Campbell's channel. I wouldn't be surprised if people just send him stuff and say, oh, look, I found this paper, it says this. And he doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't put the time in to research it thoroughly and just goes, oh, that'll do. And he'll bring it out in a video. So I think he's easily accepting, if you like, of I personally believe, easily accepting of things people send him if it fits in with what he personally believes.
Yeah, it doesn't suggest a whole lot of rigor there.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. And there was a video I did on my channel. Dr. Rick Kelly had talked about a paper which he claimed said that the more times you have a particular intervention, the more likely you are to be infected, as if it wasn't doing its job, as if it was doing the reverse of its job. Now, Dr. John Campbell put that paper on his channel not so long before, actually, and then took it down. And when he talked about why that video took down, it was very interesting the way he worded it. He said, I had to take my video down. Normally, I like to leave everything up because I think it's better that things are out there for discussion. And I really hated having to take it down. but I did, if you're wondering where it's gone. All right. He didn't say YouTube took it down. He didn't say he had a strike. He said I had to take it down. And I'm wondering whether he realized that there was no rigor in what he'd done. He'd not checked it. He realized it was going to be bad news for him and he pulled it. But instead of then coming back and saying, well, hang on, all right, hundreds of thousands of people have seen this already. Let me correct my mistakes. He just pulled it. And that's it. That's all we got from him.
It's a bit like Fleurs finding a citation that they think supports them and they've only read the first 6 words.
It is. It's a more intellectual version of that, isn't it? It's a more academic version of that. It's really sad to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, we finished with the Wheel of Derp. I just want to end on a positive note, and I just want to show you and the watchers, the viewers, this. I'm in love. This is Dr. Anita B. Eaton. She's a fat activist. Supports a positive body space and that kind of thing. And of course, I'm really into that. And I love the way she thinks. It's not. I thought I had it on here. This one down here. So someone said he doesn't think he'll fit in there, and she says she feels the same way when she gets on an airplane. I do too. I can really relate to that. And there's another one where she's complaining about the police brutality against fat people because fat people are larger targets than others, and they can't run away very fast. And I can relate to that very well. So I love you, Anita. Anita B. Eaton. Doctor, of course.
Be eaten. I like that. Be eaten.
What do you mean?
Is it not like be? Is that not like a pun, like be eating?
I thought it was a name. Oh,
I need to be eating.
Yeah.
So that's quite good. That.
Yeah, it's a very good parody thing. But yes, I just thought for huge ass, that's a perfect woman.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. All right, mate. Thank you so much for being my guest.
No, thank you. Thanks. That's been a blast. I really like the format. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's let's see if we can get Simon Dan on. I'd also like to get Sir Sick on. I think he'd be brilliant at this. So if you happen to be in Sir Sick's chat at some point, please sort of suggest to him that he should come on the Wheel of Derp.
I'll bomb you away.
I just want to point out, so I had a live stream with Flatzoid a couple of days ago, and then I noticed yesterday that he was doing a review of that, and I thought, well, I thought I'd said everything I had to say. I don't know why you'd want to do a review. So I thought, then I got messaged by quite a few people. Professor Phil Bell was one of them. And so we're going to have a bit of a panel and go through it and look at the things that were brought up. Personally, I didn't feel like I wasn't there to fight him. I was there to have a conversation with him because I've never really actually spoken to a real Flurf before. And he seems to be thinking that he had to explain a few things to me. He might have thought that, but in most cases, they were either clearly utter nonsense or word salad. So I didn't even bother pushing him there. I just wanted to move on to the next question because there was no point. So that's the sort of things we'll talk about tomorrow. And Ruhiv says he's going to talk a lot about refraction. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, check it out on my channel tomorrow at 9 a.m. Brisbane time. So that's 11 p.m. UTC Saturday night, I guess. Planet Walk's going to be, Planet Walk says he might be there. And a lot of the Wolfpack are going to be there as well. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure how reviewing my own video will go, but hopefully it'll all work out all right. And we'll talk about some interesting scientific concepts at the very least. So thank you once again, Catz.
All right. No, thank you for having me on. I've loved that. Great format. Thank you.
No worries. All right. We'll see you next time. And I guess that covers everything. So
there's nothing left to do but cue the corgi.
You're despicable.